Hey everybody, it's Chris, and as you can see I have a bit of a mess here. I attempted a cloudy pour. I don't think I have the right brand of paint, or I have the right brand, I don't think I have the right formula of paint. Just trying to make sure this is in focus for you. So I have a bit of a mess. You can see that actually my colors are kind of pretty, but it just did not do what I wanted it to do, and I don't think it was doing what it should have done. So I don't know if I had my paints mixed wrong or the wrong paint, but needless to say, I scrapped that. I scraped the paint off. It's still a little bit wet, but I decided I would just do a re-pour. This time I'm just going to do a flip cup, and I'm using the same colors. I had Deep Violet from Liquitex Basics, Mineral Blue from Soho, my Artist Loft White Flow Acrylic with my pouring. All of my paints will have the pouring medium. And then I thought I would do a little bit of Payne's Gray for a little bit of contrast and hopefully some cool effects from that color of paint. And then I also thought I would put a little bit of silver in there because I like my bling. So I'm just going to go ahead and I've got a 7-ounce cup here, which should cover this canvas nicely. So I'm just going to start layering my paints in. And I want several layers of paint, so that when it flips, I have the colors throughout my pour is what my hope is. This is the Payne's Gray. Make sure I don't have chunks in here. That's all I need. And then my silver is the Flow Acrylic paints from Michaels. And then I'm going to put a little bit of white in here just to get some more contrast. And this one I'm just going to kind of pour down in so it goes through all the colors. And then I'll come back with the Deep Violet, Mineral Blue. I think my paints are a little bit thick, but that's all right. A little bit of the Payne's Gray, more of the silver, which sometimes that silver kind of comes off as gray, but that's okay. And then I'm going to come back with the Deep Violet again and the blue and continue to layer my colors. I don't have any silicone in my paint. Plop a little bit of white in here again through those colors. Sometimes if you pour from up high, it'll kind of mix down in and give you some cool effects as well. And then I'm just going to put one more layer on here, I think, and that should do it for this one. Got some paint on there, but it should just blend in nicely. All right, I fibbed. I want just a little bit more color in there, I think. I think I probably have about 6 ounces of paint. Put a little bit more white in there. This is a 7-ounce cup. I should have sprayed my cup, but that's all right. Okay, so I'm just going to flip this guy over. I don't have any silicone. Generally, I will spray my cup with the WD-40 silicone spray. This time I didn't do that because I kind of just reused one of my cups from my failed painting that you see surrounding on the plastic. All right, so I just want to make sure that my paint, it sounds hollow, so I think my paint is probably flowed down. You can see a little bit of reaction with the paint. I'm going to pull this back just a little bit and let it flow out a tiny. And just get a little sneak peek of what's in that cup. Actually, it'd be kind of cool if it would just stay in those lines. All right. I'm just going to pull my cup up here and kind of try and get my corners covered just a tiny bit. Still have quite a bit of paint in the cup just because I did not use silicone to release that paint, which is okay. But I don't want to waste it either, so. Okay, so just going to let that paint flow out. Have some bubbles in there, probably from the white. Seems like my white paint always has bubbles in it. I'm not sure why. All right, so let's tip this guy and see what we can get. This canvas is a little bit slimy from that previous pour. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of stretch my paint out and see what I can get going here. Don't want to go quite over the edges yet. I just kind of want to stretch that out and see what it'll do for me. It's kind of, the paints are quite dark with between the violet and the mineral blue, but I think it's a pretty color combination together. So hopefully with the white and the silver, it'll brighten it up a bit. All right, so we're gonna try and go over the edges a bit. I think I've got my paint evenly distributed now. I'm just gonna go over here and see if I can get this corner covered. I could have a little bit more paint on my canvas, but I'm gonna make it work. I still have some paint on the plastic that I could use if I had to. So just trying to go over the sides. Since this is a large, thicker canvas, I do want my sides to be covered as well. So I'm just gonna slowly let that paint work its way back down to the bottom. Definitely could have had a little bit more paint in that cup, but that's all right. Where it's gone over the sides, it's definitely covering nicely. So now I'm just kind of letting the paint flow down to this bottom corner on the left. You can see it's slowly getting the canvas covered. I'll bring it up here a little bit more. So what I want to do is let that paint flow over the corner, and then I'm going to pull it back and get that right corner covered. So I'm just going to let it flow over to that right lower corner. Meanwhile, the paint has flowed over the edges. My paint is fairly thick, but I also know that when I set this back down, that it will definitely continue to flow down the sides of it. All right, so I've got a pretty good angle on it, trying to get this corner covered, which we're over at the corner now. I'm gonna just make sure that my paint's dropping off the bottom, and then I'm just gonna shift it back so that everything's not completely stretched out at the top and over on the left. I can see some pretty cool webbing effects on it. All right, look at up here in this upper left corner. Can you see that webbing effect that created? That could be the Payne's Gray, or it could be the white. I think it's gonna continue to change. We've got some pretty neat effects going on with it. So I'm just gonna set this down. Hopefully that's within your view. And I just want to make sure that I've got my sides covered. It's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to use my fingers. I've got some paint on my fingers. Just going to kind of dip down into what's left on the plastic. Trying to grab the paint that was there though, or not the paint that was there. Trying to grab this paint because the other one is quite a bit thinner. But if I touch at the very top of it and let it flow down, then I think it kind of helps the gravity of the weight of the paint that's above it to cover the edges of the canvas too. So, all right guys, well that was definitely much more successful than the cloudy pour. I'll have to order the paint, I guess, and try again with the cloudy pour. So I will take a couple of close-ups of this guy and put it at the end of the video. If you have any questions, please let me know, and thank you so much for watching.